Welcome to the Spirit Room. This podcast is a gathering place for people in search of personal growth and life's higher meaning. I'm your host, Mike Consul. I also invite you to spend time on the Spirit Room website, where you'll find headlines about religion, spirituality, psychology, and the New Age movement. Just go to thespiritroom.org. One of the things that's dragging a lot of people down these days, by causing a lot of anxiety and even madness, is the velocity of life in the digital age. You probably know what I mean by that. We live in an era when communication is instantaneous, when everything is moving very quickly, when there is so much change happening so quickly that we haven't really evolved to deal with this change. The human animal has not evolved in a way that's really capable of dealing with this change that's happening so rapidly. We don't adjust like that. Evolution has always been quite gradual, but things are changing so rapidly now, and they're only going to change more quickly in the future. That is very clear to us. One of the things that we really want to do, given our circumstance, if we find ourselves being discombobulated by what's going on around us, is to simply slow life down, at least for a few minutes a day. How do we do that? We do that with meditation. It's one means of doing it. And meditation I'll define very broadly. There's so many different ways to meditate, and this is a subject I'm going to touch on in the future many times. Hours could be spent just discussing the different types of meditation, different techniques, and what it really does for us. But just slowing life down by sitting and closing our eyes and following our breath, or just listening to the sounds around us, or just listening to some soft music, so that we get back to a pace that is much more consistent with our physiology. We're not really built to have maddening change going on around us at a very rapid pace. One of the things we know about human beings is, generally speaking, human beings do not like change, period, because there is indecisiveness or uncertainty with change. And when you think about it, why do we fear death? Even people who believe in a hereafter, in heaven or God or nirvana, are quite reticent about death because it is a change, a very major change, and there is uncertainty what lies beyond. We see our society changing in radical ways because of not just the digital era. We see the very composition of our society changing, and people don't feel like it's the United States that they remember anymore. It's not the United States that we grew up in. No country is the same as it was 50 or 100 years ago. But it's really difficult for people to deal with this change. And one of the things we simply need to do is to be calm. When things are changing too rapidly, our perceptions become distorted. We start to see change in differences between people or values as a threat. In reality, it's not normally a threat that we're really facing. It's a perceived threat. We fear the unknown, and this has been the human story from time immemorial. But the fact of the matter is, more people are living in democracies and free societies. More people are being elevated out of poverty. You have less chance of dying a violent death than ever in human history. Yet because of all the communication that we have these days, people believe that when they see a terror attack, that this is a tremendous threat to our society. My point being that we have this complete misperception about what is really going on in the world. A lot of research has been done on the reaction of the human system to relaxation. And maybe that's the simplest way to think of meditation. Not even as a spiritual outreach, but simply relaxation. When we relax, we achieve more clarity. Life becomes a little bit simpler, and we are less prone to looking at any We're less prone to finding any single event in our life and then blowing it out of proportion. So if we sit in a chair, we close our eyes, and we slow our breathing down. Maybe even inhale slowly and pause at the top of that breath. Then exhale slowly and pause at the bottom of that breath for just a beat or two. Just breathing as naturally as we can, but also with some depth. We feel a calmness come over our body and a stillness that starts to come to our mind. A lot of meditation experts will tell you, control your breath and you control your mind. If we are able to slow our breath down, slow and deep, the mind naturally quiets down. The other thing that's critical to do is simply stay focused on the positive. Focusing on the negative or the things that disconcert us is a formula for sleepless nights and an unsatisfying life. I want to tell you a little story about my past that made a huge impression on me, and that's one of my early jobs as a newspaper reporter when I was in Pasadena, California. There was a lot of change going on at the newspaper at the time, and that caused a tremendous amount of uncertainty among the staff, and the staff members were all talking. It was all a lot of gossip and speculation. There was a change of ownership that was going on is basically it, and everybody got pretty nervous about what that meant. And I got caught up in all of the gossip and all the chatter and all the speculation about what might happen, and it was a lot of really negative talk. And in a matter of days, my energy level just went through the floor. Thankfully, I started to recognize this, and what I ended up doing is just removing myself from all of that gossip and chatter. I simply stuck to my job duties, and I didn't participate in all the backstabbing and all the speculation. And that was a really valuable lesson for me because my energy level just escalated enormously just by doing that. So my energy level was restored, my job satisfaction was back to something normal. I wasn't focused on what might happen, I focused on the things that I could control. That's essential to our lives. We need to focus on the things that we can control. That simple story that I just told you was a major event in my life that I've never forgotten. I was only in my 20s at the time. And if it wasn't for learning that lesson, I would have made that mistake over and over again because I've worked in many offices since then. And you know what office politics are like. They can get really destructive, and if you participate in them, they will drag you down and you will drag other people down with you. Our ability to perceive these things is tremendously enhanced when we take time to just settle down and stay focused. Meditation is a form of relaxation and focus. If we don't achieve a relaxed state of mind, it disrupts our sleep. When our sleep is disruptive and our tension is high, it causes all kinds of physical problems. This is exactly what we don't need in times of stress, is to compound our stress. So we focus, and we focus on the things that we can control. And we just accept that ultimately we are not in control, that is in God's hands, that's in the supernatural's hands, and it's up to us to take the tools we've been given and take the responsibility we've been given and execute them to the best of our ability. But every religious tradition I know of talks about going within, achieving a centeredness and a relaxed state of mind, and keeps us focused on the things that are really meaningful and do us good. Find time each day. Find a quiet place. Find stillness. Focus on the positive. Focus on the things that you can control. And understand that the things you can't control are in the Almighty's hands. Have trust in your higher power to handle things in a manner that will ultimately be a good outcome. I have friends who have been in 12-step programs or are in 12-step programs, and there's a saying in 12-step, let go, let God. Simple saying, almost prosaic, it's so simple, but it's a good message. Let go, let God. Things will take care of themselves. Trust in your higher power, trust in the absolute. That's it for this episode. God bless.